In this video, we're going to look at how to solve absolute value inequalities. And our problem is the absolute value of x plus 3 is less than or equal to 4. So anytime you're dealing with an absolute value inequality, the first thing you need to do, just as with an absolute value equation, is you want to get the absolute value term completely by itself. Now this problem started out with the absolute value of x plus 3 already by itself on one side of the inequality. So the first step is already done for this particular problem. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to think about what the absolute value being less than or equal to 4 is really saying. And you can kind of logic this out in your mind. Remember, the absolute value is going to be your distance from 0. And so if you imagine what this problem is really saying is we want all the values of whatever's inside of there that are less than or equal to 4. Or in other words, that have a distance from 0 of less than or equal to 4. So if you kind of visualize that on a number line, if we have 0 here, negative 4, and positive 4, everything on that interval that I just drew, including the negative 4 and the positive 4, if we shaded all those regions, that would represent everything between negative 4 and 4, which would be everything with a distance of less than or equal to 4 from 0. So keeping that in mind, the way that we want to set up this problem, since the absolute value part is on the less than or equal to side of the inequality, is we want to change this into a compound inequality. We want to say negative 4 is less than or equal to x plus 3, which is less than or equal to positive 4. So since the absolute value part is on the left-hand side, or on the less than side more specifically, the strategy for solving this is to set up the compound equality. And if you think about it, what we just wrote down expresses exactly what this number line is depicting. We have all of the values stuck in the middle or between negative 4 and 4, including negative 4 and 4. So just because we have this equal to sign right there means that we will also have it in the inequality that we add for this particular problem. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind. But now we've reduced this problem by getting rid of the absolute value part, by adding another inequality. Now we've reduced this problem to something we know how to solve. It's just a compound inequality. And whenever you have a compound inequality, you just want to isolate the x in the middle region. And so to do that, all we need to do is subtract 3. And that'll cancel out the 3. But whatever we do in one region, we have to do in all of the others as well. So that's going to give us negative 4 minus 3 more is negative 7. Is less than or equal to x. Is less than or equal to 4 minus 3 is going to give us 1. And so this right here is our answer. Negative 7 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 1. That's our answer using inequalities. But we could go ahead and translate this answer into our interval notation that we typically work with. We want to include all numbers from negative 7 all the way to 1, and we want to include the negative 7, and we want to include the 1. And so that's going to be our answer. So if we want to graph our answer, then what we're going to do is we can just put the 0 right here. We can put our 1 out beside the 0, and the negative 7 will be a little further in this direction. And we're going to include both of those values. So when we shade this, it's going to look like this. Everything shaded between negative 7 and 1, including negative 7 and 1. So you might be asking, why does our actual answer down here, which I'm going to circle in red, why does it look a little bit different than the number line that we drew before? Well, the reason for that is that number line that we drew before, that's just kind of what you would want to visualize in your mind by the absolute value being less than 4, or the distance from 0 being less than 4. That's not at all the answer solution. That would be the answer if the only thing inside of the absolute value was an x. So this is just kind of like a mental aid right here. That's just so that you can mentally visualize it. So don't think that I'm saying that's the answer, because it's definitely not. Our answer is circled on the bottom in red.